In explaining amber, it's best to start with what are the core colour components that make it up. So, first we have yellow, which is a masculine energy and representing the mind or the intellect. And then we have red, a feminine energy, which represents the driving force inside each and every one of us. You combine those two and add the element of copper to the colour equation, and what you get is a grounding force of authoritative power. And so amber really is totally about the path to mastery. It's about spiritual integrity, but it's in that full embodiment.
Absolutely. So, to give you an example, the first person that comes to my mind is a fictional character, and that's that lovable old Yoda from Star Wars, because he really got the importance of disciplining the mind in order to feel the force. And when you feel the force, you can actually create anything you like. But if you want an example that's more current and modern day, then look no further than the embodiment movement, which is based on recognizing the importance of practice, practice, practice. So most of those that are well known in that movement are also black belts in Aikido. So they absolutely have followed that path of being disciplined by getting to that level of expertise, but being so totally centered in their body.
I like to think of amber as directly related to the element fire.
Mm-hmm.
If we think of fire, fire represents spiritual transformation. Now, we're not just system coaches, we're actually also firewalk instructors, and there's a good reason for that. These empowerment tools are actually teaching leaders how to reach these higher states of being in the body, to
Mm-hmm.
actually own that force inside of thyself, because common practice would suggest that actually walking on hot coals is not a very good idea. And yet, what we find is that when people actually overcome their fears and find that courage, there's expansion. And that expansion is about transcending that part of thyself that says, I cannot do that. It's that reptilian part of the brain that says, no, this is going to burn.
Yeah, so what we're saying there, or what Kath is saying, is about learning the art of surrender. And that's an absolutely key component of that amber, being able to let go. And from a systems perspective, we go into organisations all the time and quite often find systems in disarray. And as we explore that and unpack it, what we find is that it's very often due to the fact that a key member of that organisation, potentially the founder, has left, and no time has been given or space to honour their contribution to bringing the organisation to the wherever it's got to, or even just space to reflect and grieve for the loss of that individual. So, because of that, that whoever then takes on the role, quite often, not always, but in extreme examples, ends up not being able to contain themselves in that space. And, there's a sort of the ejector seat phenomenon, because they come across this stagnant energy, and it's that interaction with that, so it's nothing to do with their capability in the post, but just a sense of I don't belong here, because amber at the end of the day is all about honouring the position and order of things.
Yeah, so you have to beware in organisational systems of time spirits and ghosts.
Mm.
If things haven't been honoured and respected, if there isn't that respect to the original essence of what the co-founders were trying to bring into existence,
Mm.
this is where you tend to get problems.
So, when you talk about time spirits, Kath, I'm immediately reminded of that reluctant CEO we worked with not that long ago, who one didn't want to be in the post, but then kept harking back to the previous incumbent and who they knew personally anyway. But not only did they do that, but so did their team. And so,
Yeah.
in a way, there was no respect for them as a leader and following them, because everybody was still looking in another
Yeah,
direction.
I guess that particular individual in question just wasn't in his authoritative power
No.
in that sense of the word in amber. So this is also interesting to if think about it as a leader and bringing it back to you for a
Mm,
moment, I want you to think about your first primary system, which is your family system,
mm.
your ancestral lineage. In the same way as this works in organisations, it works with your own family. There may be wounds that are brought through from generation to generation, patterns of behaviour, illnesses, money patterns, they're always fairly prominent. And if we haven't made peace with our own lineage, then the problems tend to keep showing up in the next generation. So there's something for me as a leader that it's great looking forward, wonderful to have a future vision and direction. But you can only really truly do that if you've actually, one, know where you come from and you've made peace with all of that.
So, to sum up, really, when we look at amber, there's probably these things to remember. One, that it has a real preserving power, and we see that when we think about what amber is, and it comes from tree resin, and it does preserve stuff as a stone. Secondly, from an organisational context, the importance of honouring corporate memory. So the value that tradition holders bring. So it's not all about the change agents. So that kind of neatly really brings us to our mantra for Amber, which is embrace it all and hold nothing back.